Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the amazing team of Stephen and Natasha. How you guys doing today?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
good.
Thank you
Thank
very much. Yeah,
you.
thanks
Thank
for
you for
having us.
having us.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. Natasha, we've been friends for a very long time. Very glad to finally have you on the show. And Stephen, just met you, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys about Viral Haunt. For those of you that don't know, we've done a couple interviews about this already on the channel, but we're very excited about this film. And Tasha and Steven, this is their brainchild. They wrote this, they directed it, they co-starred in it. They put all their eggs into this basket very gratefully because this is something a lot of us in the community are very much looking forward to. So I'm going to start with you, Steven. What was some of your inspiration for the film?
Probably some of the older horror films that were quite predictable. I wanted to try and avoid being predictable with this one. So yeah, obviously the original story idea was from Tasha, and then we fleshed out a script. We spent a long time, making it, improving it, changing it. But yeah, my inspiration would be to make it a little bit different and I want the audience to not be sure what's going to happen next.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing for me. I
And
wouldn't
it's
say there was a
very
particular.
important to make
I wouldn't,
sure you're keeping people on their toes.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I wouldn't say there was a particular film that inspired me. I think you might have a different answer to that question than me, Tash. But for me, it was to try and make a horror film that I'd enjoy watching.
Hmm.
I think that was
Right.
one thing for me. Yeah.
Well, I think horror movies that are made by horror fans, you could feel that. You could
Mm,
feel when you have a horror movie made by horror fans because it's not about making money and it's not about, trying to get this big, huge commercial success. It's about scaring the audience and filming something that you would love to watch. So,
mm.
um, we know, Tasha, this was, this original idea came from you. What was your inspiration when you first started writing this film?
So do you know what? It actually just came to me randomly. I just get random ideas of stuff, and then I'm like, oh my God, that'd be such a good movie. And then my thoughts go like 100 miles an hour, and I end up either writing them down or voice noting them to Steve. And then he'll write them down because my brain works too fast. So he'll say, write them down, and I'll send them in like a 20-minute voice note, and he'll be like typing away. Um, but so we basically have some executive producers, and they told us to give them some ideas, basically. And we did. We got five each, something like that. They picked my idea. Um, there wasn't really an inspiration I had, but as you said, with like horror fans, I'm not really a fan of watching horror movies. So I don't really like gore or anything like that. If anything, my favorite style of horror movie is like psychological. So
Sure.
I think that really went into it. We really wanted to make a film that we also, even though we're not really like the biggest horror fans, something that we could actually enjoy because we love making horror films and love being involved in the making of process.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of like psychological bits in there. And there's a lot of like story as well. With a lot of horror movies, you see like slashers or whatever, and there isn't really too much of a story. It's not really focused on, obviously, because a lot of horror fans just want to see the killing. But because that isn't us, we wanted to make a story and develop the characters and give them all backgrounds. And so basically, when someone dies, people are either going to love it or hate it, and we want them to feel that.
Hmm. Well, and it's easier to get invested in a movie when you're either actively rooting for someone to survive or actively rooting for someone to bite it. When
Exactly.
you can, when you have a person that can be that much into their character to where you're like, you know what, let them go, just let them get it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to do in a horror
Yeah.
film as well. But we know that you guys wrote, directed, and also star in this. So Tasha, what do you do to help you get into character?
You know what? Again, this was really hard. It was so hard because we directed, we wrote, we produced, and we acted. So we did literally everything. If there was ever a problem on set, they came to us. Anyone came to us at all times. There'd be scenes where we'd go into it, we'd be blocking the actors out and go, this is what needs to happen here. And then at this line, a bang happens. And at this line, the lights flicker and da 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 da. And we'd go through everything. And then we'd go, okay, right, they're practicing. We've got 2 minutes. We don't know our lines. And we'd be like, fuck, what are we going to do now? So I guess we were just kind of leaning on our experience and ability as actors, because obviously primarily we are actors, so we know how to learn lines fast, we know how to get into character and stuff. This character isn't something that I'd usually play. Usually I play kind of like the bitchy roles and stuff, what people have seen me in before. This character, she's a bit more withdrawn. She's like depressed, she's anxious. She has a boyfriend in this, and her boyfriend's like a really horrible guy. Um, so it was a little bit different to usual. Usually I'd just be able to be like, okay, right, yeah, I can just easily get into this. I've done it so many times. But whereas with this, I did have to kind of take a little minute away and be like, okay, I have to really upset myself because this character is so depressed. And I'm walking around going, hey guys, oh my God, I'm having so much fun. And then I'm like, right, okay, I need to be depressed. So it was difficult, but it was definitely worth it. And I love directing. And oh yeah, okay, sorry, no, I know this is taking ages, but another thing, what made it easier for us, um, because we knew the characters so well, because we wrote it and then we were like also producing it and we were directing it, we knew every single character so well that it was hard for our characters to not already be developed. Like I could have acted as Kelly's role or C's role even, because me and same with Steve, like we knew every character so well that they were already developed. So I think
Mhm.
that helped.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
I would think that, getting into character would be a little bit easier when you've written the character because,
Yeah,
like I said, you're kind
exactly.
of flushing them out as you're writing them. So it would be a little bit easier to do that. And
Yeah.
Steve, also, we know that you starred in the film as well. What's it like for you being someone that's acting as well as directing? Was it a little bit more difficult for you being an actor and director, or would you rather be one or the other?
Um, it was a good challenge, I would say that. It was a good challenge. Obviously, you're taking on more responsibility and workload. So yeah, it is more difficult, obviously. I would have liked to probably had a bit more time on the character, but at the same time, because we were working on it every day, I knew the character. I was asking you questions all the time. Said, why is my character even hanging around with you guys? Like, what's going on? But yeah, so I would have liked a bit more time, but again, for what Tash said, we learnt on our acting experience. We knew the script inside out. It was just on the set, yeah, as a director and producer, you are responsible for everyone.
Right.
So that was the most important thing for me, making sure the product was going to be as good as we could make it. So yeah, it was difficult because you're as an actor, sometimes you might only be needed for, I don't know, 3 or 4 scenes a day or whatever. Even 1 or 2 scenes, you could be waiting around. But obviously, because we were part of the crew and the cast, it's non-stop all the time. And for me, it was all about focusing on the product. So making sure, yeah, from a production point of view, it was going as good as it possibly could do. Obviously, I was on the monitor all the time, checking the shots, working with the DOP, working with Tash. And then all of a sudden you find out, oh, I'm in this scene. And like Tash said, it was like most of the most of the lines we knew, especially longer dialogue scenes. We knew them and we could knock them out dead quick.
Yeah.
It was like the little scenes that matter. My character might have only had 2 or 3 lines, or even 4 lines, and I wasn't too familiar with it. And it was that it was just looking at the sheet and going, "Yeah, I know this scene," and picking up the lines very, very quickly, and then just doing it. But I think from
Yeah.
producer director point of view, I was in producer director mode for nearly all of it, and then at the last minute, like 30 seconds before a take, I was an actor, and then
Yeah.
it was kicked back. Yeah.
And that's definitely a hard thing to juggle, while you're directing yourself as well. Because I know a lot of us, we are our own worst critic. So, like, hey, let's take that again from the top. Even though it might have been a great shot, it might have been a great take, but because we are our own worst critics and we're not watching ourselves on the monitor as we're doing
Yeah.
it, let's take that one from the top one more time. And everyone's like, ah, damn it. So I definitely
Yeah.
understand that one as well. We
Yeah.
That,
know a little
that
bit
was
about Tasha's character, Steve, but can you tell us a little bit non-spoiler about your character?
yeah, my character, non-spoiler, is someone that joined the group quite late. So I was like a late addition to these influencers. There's a group of 6 of them. I think I was the last, was I the last person to join?
You're
I
the
think
last person to join, yeah.
last person to get into the group. Um, and I end up befriending just one of the guys pretty well. And then I don't really. I'm not. It's not that I don't get on with anyone else, but I'm quite close to one of the characters called Joe. Um, but outside of that, yeah. So I'm the guy hired to do all the technical stuff behind the scenes, faking these incidents and stuff. Um, and yeah, that's it. I'm a little bit older than the rest of them, aren't I?
Just a bit.
I'm the guy that'd go and set up the cameras, basically ready for, I'm not like the leader of the group. That's or I'm just there for the ride and I think for the money, to be honest, my character.
Yeah.
Somebody that I can definitely relate to.
Yeah.
So, when you're doing a film like this, which has a lot of virtual aspects to the film, and again, I don't want to spoil anything, guys, so I'm trying to be as vague as possible. Can you tell us, Tasha, a little bit about your experience on set and what it was like doing something so out of the box?
It was the only difficult thing was the fact that we were on screen. That was the only thing that I think was difficult for me because I knew, again, same as Steve, I knew the scene so well, inside and out. Someone could say scene 71, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, I know where that is, I know who's in it, and I know what all of their lines are. Like, we knew it so well. So if there was a bang, or if there was the lights flickering, or if there was a scream or a whisper, I knew exactly where all of them things needed to be. However, I was in the scene, so I couldn't then go bang or clap or do you know what I
Sure.
mean? I couldn't do any of that stuff because I was on screen. So I would then have to prep someone before and go, right, when you hear this line, you need to bang. And then when you hear me say, oh my God, what the hell is that? You whisper this. And then you need to slam that door and you need to run around upstairs. And it was like really difficult to make it happen because then you're relying on crew members who are busy doing other stuff
Sure.
and they shouldn't have to worry about when I go, what the hell, and then scream, ah. Do you know what I mean? But luckily, everyone was really, really helpful. All of the crew were really helpful. And even cast members, when they weren't on screen, they were helping out as well. So it wasn't too bad. And I know in post, when we add the sounds in and stuff, it's going to look amazing. There's so many jump scare moments. It's insane. It's really, really cool.
And I love how someone can now put on their resume. I was also a key grip slash screamer in Viral Haunt. So you're building resumes here is what you're doing. Let's look at the positive side of things. Um, so, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, guys, but I do have all of Steve and Natasha's social media links down in the description. So make sure that you're following them on social media, not only so you can figure out when we're going to get the release of Viral Haunt, but this isn't the only thing they're going to be working on. They're going to have many more projects in the future, and you're going to want to check those out as well. So make sure you're clicking the links down in the description so you can follow them on social media. But before I let you guys go, we always bounce back to the same question. Now, Tasha, you're going to get to be a cheater, pumpkin eater on this one because I can't ask you both at the same time. I got to ask Steve first. So he's going to
Okay.
have to answer off the seat of his pants, and you're going to
Oh,
get a
God.
second to think about this one.
Okay. Should I close my ears?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
My little buddy Ghostface is here, and Steve, he has a question for you.
Okay.
What's your favorite scary movie, Steve? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Definitely Scream 1, I'd say. And that's
Cannot
quite
go
a
wrong
generic
there.
one, but I remember when it came out of the cinema and it was huge in the UK. And all my mates were like, "You've got to watch Scream." And then I really enjoyed the sequel as well. So it was them two for me, Scream 1 and 2.
They revitalized the horror genre. So
Yeah,
now
that's
let's.
what I loved about it. That's what I loved about it because at the time they challenged stuff. I was watching it going, at last someone's done a film about the rules of being in a horror
Yeah,
movie. And I was like, this is exactly my sort of thing. So yeah, it was.
it really revitalized the horror genre. It
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really did. So, all right, give me a second. Here we go. All right, so now Tasha, my little buddy Ghostface has a question for you. What's
Okay.
your favorite scary movie, Natasha? What is your
Um,
favorite horror movie of all time?
what's my favorite horror movie? Okay, so I used to love horror movies when I was a kid. I don't really watch them anymore, but so these are gonna be quite oldies and probably maybe not oldies, but Nightmare on Elm Street and Chucky. Like Chucky the Seed, Chucky the Bride,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. They're my favorites. Simply because I just love the way that Chucky specifically, I just loved the way that he moved around and stuff. I loved the and how he'd hold up a knife and then there'd be a close up of the knife in the spotlight. So cool. I love Chucky so much. And you know that they made a new one, and I watched it just to see if they'd still filmed it the same way, and they did. There was like little bits that they put in, like the knife. I was like, please say they put the knife and the little feet walking and stuff, and they did. And I was so happy. And then with Nightmare on Elm Street, I loved the fact that they couldn't go to sleep. That's terrifying for me because it's like no matter what they do, they can't escape this killer because he can do anything as long as they're asleep. So that was terrifying for me. I love horror movies that they don't do anything wrong, like they don't fall over and they don't split apart and they don't you know what I mean? Them things like that. They don't do anything wrong.
They
But
don't break the rules as was established in Scream.
yeah, they don't break the rules, but they still get hurt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then for me as a viewer, I'm like, oh my God, they've done everything right and they still haven't escaped. Because otherwise I'll go, well, she's fallen over. I wouldn't have fallen over. Oh, she's left the door open. I wouldn't have left the door. Do you know what I mean? And then it's not as
Yeah.
scary for me. So yeah, there's my answers.
And again, these are like I said, Child's Play is my favorite horror franchise of all time.
Oh, really?
Nightmare on Elm
Amazing.
Street, the original, I've been quoted many times saying it's the closest thing to a perfect horror movie you're ever
Yeah.
gonna get. And then Scream, without Scream, horror is not what it is today. If you
Yeah.
look at the movies that came out in 93, 94, 95, compared to the horror movies that came out in 97, 98, 99 after Scream, completely changed the horror genre. So you'll never get any argument with me out of those three movies. Like you take any Child's Play, you take the first Nightmare on Elm Street, you take Scream. Those are all damn good choices. So I know I said it a little bit, guys, but we're at the end of the third act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, please make sure you are following these amazing people on social media. I promise you, you're not going to regret it. They are absolutely adorable people that I admire very, very much. So please make sure you're doing that. Steve, Tasha, please hang on for a second. I got a couple more questions for you guys. Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Those links are down in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.